All right, so listen to this. You guys send in a ton of stuff about UFOs,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes way back. I mean, official reports, personal stories, everything.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's like you all really want to know what the government knows about this stuff compared to what they've told everyone else.
Yeah,
Well, think of this as your deep dive, all right?
that's a good way to put it.
So,
What I think is really fascinating is how early some of these accounts start.
oh yeah,
We're talking reports right from the CIA's files, going all the way back to the 40s and 50s.
wow.
Objects flying next to trains chasing after missiles.
Like keeping up with them or?
Yeah, like keeping pace.
Wow.
Even back then, people thought whatever was behind these movements was intelligent.
It's like they were showing off almost,
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah, well, one case that always gets me is the one from New Mexico back in 1949. 5 different tracking stations. And get this, they weren't even talking to each other. They all saw UFOs messing with the missile that had just launched.
Talk about coordination.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And that's a key point right there. It's not just one person seeing something strange, it's multiple people, credible witnesses, all seeing the same thing.
Right.
That makes these reports a lot more than just some lights in the sky.
It takes it to a whole other level for sure.
Yeah.
So you have these really early sightings,
Yeah.
and it seems like things just get weirder from there.
Yeah.
You guys gave us a bunch of info about Air Force regulations and possible cover-ups, especially starting with that regulation in 1953, where they basically shut down what personnel were allowed to say about UFOs.
Yeah, that's a big shift. And it makes you wonder what was more important to them back then, figuring out what these things were, or making sure the public didn't panic.
Right. It's like they were more worried about people freaking out in the streets than getting to the bottom of what was going on.
Exactly. And you see that same idea again in that CIA memo you sent us.
Oh, yeah.
The one where they talk about how to make UFO witnesses seem less believable.
Right.
That plus the fact that they were so focused on the Soviets maybe using UFOs for their own goals. It makes you wonder if the government thought the truth itself was more dangerous than any enemy they were facing.
That is a scary thought.
It is.
Okay, so everyone buckle up because things get really wild as we move into the 60s and 70s.
Oh, yeah.
That's when we start seeing stories about crashed vehicles, recovered materials.
And probably the most unsettling part of it, all the stories about potential alien abductions.
Right.
The case of Mario Woods, who was security police for the Air Force, really stands out here.
This one is pretty chilling.
It is.
Just to give you all a quick rundown.
Yep.
Woods was stationed at Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota back in 1966.
Okay.
One night, he's patrolling a remote area of the base, and he runs into something.
Oh, boy.
Let's just say it wasn't in the Air Force manual.
Right.
He described seeing this glowing, oval-shaped object hovering close to the ground. Woods, along with his patrol partner, decided to get a closer look.
Oh, no.
And that's when things escalated pretty quickly.
Yikes.
So Woods said he felt this intense pressure on his chest, making it hard to breathe. Then he saw these small, shadowy figures outside the object, and even claimed he heard voices inside his head.
What?
And the next thing he knows, hours have passed, and he's miles away from where he first saw the object.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. What's so unnerving about this account and others like it is the question of who's at risk. I mean, if even military personnel who are trained and equipped for dangerous situations can be potential targets, where does that leave the average person?
Right.
And why the total silence from the government?
Yeah, what are they so determined to keep quiet about?
It's one of the biggest mysteries in all of this, for sure. And the mysteries just keep piling up when you factor in all the talk about black projects and waived SAPs. These are terms that hint at a whole secret world of UFO research the public isn't supposed to know about.
You're right about that. Black projects are basically programs that operate completely outside the usual government oversight, totally under the radar.
Right.
And waived SAPs are even more secretive. They're classified projects that don't even have to report to Congress, which is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
So basically, there are these hidden layers of information about UFOs kept secret, not just from us regular folks, but from elected officials too.
That's what it looks like.
Wow.
And the more we dig into the sources you gave us, the more we see evidence of this deliberate secrecy. Missing film footage, contradictory statements about Project Blue Book, even official acknowledgement that there are classified UAP videos out there. It's a frustrating pattern of obfuscation and denial.
It's like playing a never-ending game of hide and seek. You know, something's going on, but you can't quite get your hands on the evidence.
It's infuriating.
It is, and it raises an even bigger question: who's really in control here? The fact that we have so many different UFO sightings with objects of different shapes, sizes, and behaviors suggests that we might be dealing with multiple phenomena, not just one.
Right.
And that some of these could be beyond our current scientific understanding.
Okay, let's pause here for a second. This is where it gets really interesting. Yeah, it's like we have this giant puzzle box, and we only have a few of the pieces.
Right.
We can kind of see glimpses of the picture, but we're missing big parts of the story.
And those missing pieces could be the most important ones. One thing that really jumped out at me was how often these UFOs show up near military bases,
Oh, yeah.
especially the ones with nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
They're really interested in our most dangerous tech.
That's right. The Malmstrom incident from 1967 is a perfect example. Remember you sent us those first-hand accounts from personnel stationed there?
Yeah.
And their stories are really unsettling.
Okay, so for those who haven't heard of Malmstrom, it's an Air Force base in Montana that had a lot of America's nuclear missiles back then.
Right.
And on March 16th, 1967, things got really strange.
Oh, yeah.
Several people, including launch officers like Robert Salas, reported seeing this bright red object hanging out near the base.
Hmm.
And right after that sighting, a bunch of Minuteman ICBMs went offline. They just stopped working.
That's scary.
Talk about a tense situation. These were nuclear missiles capable of unimaginable destruction, and suddenly they were unresponsive. What if it had been a real launch situation?
Right. The implications are huge. If some foreign power could just disable our nukes like that, it would completely change the balance of power in the world. But what if it wasn't a foreign power? What if it was something else entirely?
Well, Salas and other witnesses are convinced it was that UFO that caused the malfunction. They said the object was seen maneuvering near the missile silos right before they went down.
And this isn't the only time it's happened. There have been similar reports from other nuclear sites all over the world.
Really?
It suggests a pattern, maybe even a deliberate effort to mess with our nuclear capabilities.
Yeah.
It's almost like someone's trying to send a message.
But of course, the official word from the government is nothing to see here, just a technical glitch.
Right, which, given all the evidence you've gathered, seems a little hard to believe. And it makes you wonder, what else are they hiding? How many other incidents have been blamed on technical difficulties when the truth is something much stranger and potentially much more alarming?
It's almost like they're trying to protect us from the truth.
Yeah.
But by doing that, aren't they just creating a bigger problem?
Exactly.
This sense that we can't trust them to be honest with us about what's really going on.
You've hit on a really important point that lack of transparency creates distrust. It feeds into all those conspiracy theories.
Right.
Because people start to think, well, if they're lying about this, what else are they lying about?
Exactly. It erodes our faith in the institutions that are supposed to be looking out for us.
And it leaves us with some really unsettling possibilities. Like, what if the government isn't actually in control of this situation? What if they're just as baffled by all of this as we are?
You mean they might not even know what they're dealing with?
Exactly. You've given us accounts of all kinds of different UFOs, some disc-shaped, some cigar-shaped, some glowing orbs, some metallic triangles. It's almost like we're not dealing with one thing, but with many.
Right.
And some of them might be so far beyond our scientific understanding that we don't even have the tools to figure out what they are or where they come from.
That's kind of mind-blowing to think about. So just for a moment, let's say some of these UFOs really are alien spacecraft.
Okay.
What would that mean? What would the implications be for us here on Earth? I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about a complete paradigm shift, right?
It would definitely turn our understanding of the universe upside down. Honestly, it's something we can only speculate about, but the possibilities are both exciting and terrifying.
Right. On the one hand, think about the incredible scientific breakthroughs we could make.
Oh, yeah.
If we could reverse engineer even a tiny bit of the technology these UFOs seem to have,
Right.
we could revolutionize everything from energy production to space travel.
Exactly. We could be talking about clean, limitless energy, the ability to travel to other star systems, maybe even a cure for aging. The possibilities are almost endless.
But then, of course, there's the flip side. If some of these beings aren't so friendly,
Right.
if their intentions toward humanity are less than peaceful,
Yeah.
we could be facing a threat like nothing we've ever imagined.
And that's why this whole issue of government secrecy becomes even more important. If they do have information about a potential threat, they have a responsibility to share it with the public.
Right.
We need to be prepared. We need to have a plan. We need to work together to face whatever might be coming.
It's like regardless of whether they're friendly or hostile, we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
So we need to be informed, and we need to be able to trust our leaders to be straight with us.
Right.
We need to demand transparency from them, hold them accountable, and really start having a serious discussion about what all this means for the future of humanity.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This isn't some fringe topic anymore. This is something that deserves our attention, our critical thinking skills, and our collective effort to figure out the truth.
And when you look at it that way, all those stories about potential cover-ups and secrecy become even more troubling.
Absolutely. It all circles back to the question of trust and transparency.
So much to think about here. This deep dive has layers upon layers of mystery and intrigue. But we're not done yet. We need to figure out what all of this means for you, the listener.
Right.
For your own understanding of the world and how you navigate this reality where things are getting more and more complex.
That's what we're here for. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about how to approach all of this information, how to make sense of it, and what questions you should be asking yourself as you continue to learn and explore.
I gotta say, after going through all of that, it's hard not to feel like we've stepped into some kind of sci-fi movie.
I know, right?
Reading about UFO sightings and government cover-ups is one thing, but actually thinking about the possibility of real contact with something from another planet.
It's wild.
It's a whole other level.
It really makes you question everything you thought you knew about reality.
For sure. And I think it's important to remember that this isn't just about facts and evidence.
Right.
There's a real emotional side to all of this.
Absolutely.
We're talking about potentially shattering our whole worldview, redefining our place in the universe.
It's not just an intellectual exercise.
Right. It taps into some really deep feelings, fear, wonder, that sense of the unknown that's both exciting and terrifying.
It forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge and maybe even question the very nature of reality itself.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So we've looked at the history, the evidence, the potential cover-ups, the possible implications, but what does it all mean for you, for the listener?
Right. What can you take away from this deep dive into the world of UFOs?
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway is this: the truth is out there somewhere. It might be hidden, it might be fragmented, it might be deliberately covered up, but it exists. And it's up to each of us to keep searching for it, to be critical thinkers, to question the official narratives, and to keep an open mind.
Exactly. Don't just take our word for it, or anyone else's for that matter.
Yeah.
Dig into the evidence, look at things from different angles, and come to your own conclusions.
Yeah.
And be prepared to have your assumptions challenged along the way.
For sure. Don't fall for easy answers or sensational headlines or conspiracy theories that sound good but don't really hold up.
Right.
Be skeptical, be curious, but most importantly, be willing to dig beneath the surface.
And remember, you're not alone in this. There are tons of people all over the world who are asking these same questions, looking up at the sky and wondering what's really out there.
It's true. That shared sense of curiosity, that collective search for truth, it's a powerful thing. It drives us to explore, to learn to push the boundaries of our understanding.
So where do we go from here? What can we actually do with this knowledge, with this sense of wonder and uncertainty? What's the next step?
Well, the first step is to stay informed. Keep reading, keep researching, keep asking those tough questions. Don't let this topic fade into the background.
Right. Keep it at the front of your mind.
Yeah.
Talk to your friends. Share what you've learned. Listen to their perspectives. You might be surprised by the insights and connections that come up in those conversations.
You really might.
And, hey, maybe you'll inspire someone else to start their own deep dive into the unknown.
Exactly.
But above all, don't give up on the search for truth. It may be a long and winding road full of twists and turns, but the journey itself is incredibly valuable.
It really is.
It's about expanding our awareness, challenging our assumptions, and becoming more engaged citizens, not just of this planet, but of the cosmos.
Well said. The study of UFOs or UAP isn't just about identifying objects in the sky. It's about understanding ourselves, our place in the universe, and the potential for something truly extraordinary.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. Imagine for a moment that all of these accounts, all of these stories are true. Imagine we're not alone, that there are other intelligent beings out there watching us, interacting with us, maybe even shaping our history in ways we don't understand.
It's a big thought.
What would that mean for humanity? How would it change how we see ourselves, our world, our future?
That's a question each of us has to wrestle with on our own. Well, one thing is for sure the truth. Whatever it may be, will be far more profound and transformative than we can possibly imagine.
Keep looking up, keep questioning, keep searching. The truth is out there waiting to be discovered. Until next time, keep diving deep.